St. Louis, the gateway to the West, is now the gateway to the best.
Swing and get up, baby! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Home
The game is over. The series is over. The wait is over.
What's a happening, nerds? We are in the month of June, so essentially we're kind of halfway through the year. And I just did my monthly pickup video with Adam over at Adam Pits and Flood for the Win. And, you know, I noticed the last 2 months, they were lighter months for me as far as collecting. You know, definitively the volume of cards that I've been collecting as compared to the first quarter of the first quarter of the year. And so there's kind of a couple reasons for that, and I'll talk about those after I do kind of like my recount of like the first half of the year, essentially. The goals that I had set for myself, as I documented in a video before, and what have you. So with that being said, one of the major goals for me collecting is my Ozzie Smith collection. And that in that video, which obviously my goals weren't very specific or anything like that. Maybe I undersold myself in some respects as we go on. I said I wanted to pick up at least 3 Ozzie Smith cards. And I had made the comment about myself, like, oh, I'm kind of being dramatic about this stuff. Like, oh, is this going to be the last Ozzie Smith card I pick up? And so I went and looked back. And so the first Ozzie Smith card I picked up this year, it was number 881. And well, with the last one, I'm up to 894. So the fact that I set the goal of 3, it sounds kind of ridiculous. At the same time, though, as I stated in one of my videos, is like I lucked into a significant amount of cards, and it was just mind blowing, right? So I'm going to show a few cards, and with all these goals, I'm going to show some cards, not all of them. But my last one, number 894, is this what I believe to be a 1992 team issue card that I got from my buddy Brian. And then these cards were a part of that lot, I guess if that's what you want to call it. But this 1980 or 1990 restaurant card with ad. 1993 Ayus Upper Deck Jumbo. And then this unbelievable that I own it. If you know, you know. 1996 Collector's Choice Checklist Gold. So, absolutely phenomenal that my Ozzie Smith collection is where it is compared to where it started this year and what I thought was realistic goals at that time. So, absolutely phenomenal. It's like I said when I picked up those cards, is 900 within reach? I really think so. So that's awesome. As far as a collection of scope that has more of a defined, realistic end completion, Yadier Molina Topps Gold collection. I had a lot of fun with this collection. I had a lot of fun documenting this collection, which I've done enough, so I'm not really going to show any cards right now, but the fact that this collection is completed and completed it when I did is just phenomenal. I have thoroughly enjoyed reviewing this collection since completing it. So definitely check, just like the Ozzie Smith, check. And I went and wrote down all my goals right here. So that's awesome. Next was Ken Boyer. I did not define an amount of cards to pick up. I just said, I want to pick up some more cards. So obviously, if I only pick up one, you can say, oh, you met your goal. So that's why it wasn't like a SMART goal. because it wasn't defined, therefore it's not measurable, it's not specific, those kind of things. So, but I do want to show a few of the cards I picked up. And so this is going to come up a couple times at least. This right here, Rawlings Premium. I got this from Tom, at KC 1967. Which I do need to get to his shop again soon because I love his shop. It's phenomenal. And I've got another Rawlings Premium since then, but this is my first one. This one's just too damn cool. J.D. McCarthy postcard. And this is with Ken and his brother Cleet. Awesome, awesome stuff. And then I think it's the last card show I've been to. Now that I think about it. But this is absolutely phenomenal. It's a card I have wanted. I didn't know that it was going to be realistic, so it wasn't like, I want to get this card this year kind of thing. 1955. Dear friend, Ken Boyer autographed postcard. Absolutely phenomenal. It's post-dated. It was mailed out to somebody. But his rookie card is 1955. So this is a rookie year card of Ken Boyer. He signed this card as a rookie. Because you can see it was mailed out in 1955. Unbelievable that I own this card. Yeah, I the first half of this year has been phenomenal. You know what I mean? Again, not really specific, not really defined. Red Shandies. It's just I want to pick up cards I think are cool of his. And so, again, Tom, KC 1967. I picked up this card. Commemorative card of red for the 1946 World Series. I already have this same thing for the 1957 World Series of red. And so this paired perfect with that card. Thanks to Tom. And it was funny because when I went to his shop, he was like, hey, you want this? And I was like, holy shit, yeah. So that was really cool. I like to collect red. His, the story of his career, and a part of that story is his time with the Giants. So this 1957 Topps Giants Red Shandies. And just because I like really cool cards of his, I'm not so much an autograph collector or anything like that. A lot of times you see people collecting these autographed because they're amazing pieces, right? But the imagery on this Dick Perez postcard of red, I just love it. And I just wanted the card. I didn't care about the autograph, so I picked up the card. So another goal checked. And I'm tracking along. One of the things I talked about in the video was goal cards. And specifically I mentioned the Musial 49 Leaf and the Bob Feller 38 Gouty Big Head. And, that's his rookie card. According to some people, most people, whatever. But one of the things is I'm removing those from goals for this year because the costs, which I talked about, are just in a stratosphere that I'm not willing to go at this moment in time. And so those goals, not checked. And I'm not really going to go any further on those. Next goal I had was, the Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum. The class of 2026, when it gets announced, I want to complete it. And I already had the Pujols and Yachty cards, which I talked about, but Bill Sherdell, the Red Ribbon Committee selection. And now I picked up this card before he got selected by a week. And but it was, who is the Red Ribbon Committee going to select? and he is who they selected this year. Now, it's been over a month since the announcement, so even if John Colson had not commented on my video, which led to that card purchase, by now I would have picked up a card for the player. You know what I mean? So, as far as my goal for the Cardinals Hall of Fame Museum, check. Now, another goal I had set for myself was getting cards of the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame, the nominees, up to this point, similar to what I do for the Cardinals Hall of Fame. I haven't picked up any, and honestly, it wasn't until 2 nights ago that I even formulated a checklist for it. But we'll get on. Well, I'll talk talk about that later on in this video. Cardinals Gold Glove, that's to be determined, right? The season isn't over, so we don't even know if the Cardinals are going to have a Gold Glove this year. I think their defensive play has been excellent, so there's hope that there's a new card to get. I am missing Bob Gibson's 1965 Topps to have it up to date to this point, but I haven't picked up that card either. As far as like my top 10 gold cards, I talked about hoping to get one, and I did. Now it's not the Leaf of the Musial that I referred to earlier. It's this 1941 double play Bob Feller that also has Joe Krakowskis. And why was this a top 10 gold card? Because it is the last card manufactured of Chief Petty Officer Feller before the war. And that's why it was on my top 10 all-time want list. And I picked it up this year. Like I said, 2026 has just been a banger year for me already. Even with the last 2 months being lighter pickup months, very, very fortunate, and it's been a lot of fun. I think that's been a contributing factor as to why the last couple months has just been a little bit lighter. You know what I mean? The last goal I set for myself was finding a collection scope for Isaac Bruce. I found one for Yadier Molina that I love so much, had a blast with, but that one had a very defined beginning and end. Even though I learned about cards along the way, but it's that of Isaac Bruce, and so the collection scope that I've come up with, and I've had a lot of fun with, although I did not get one last month, is relic cards of Isaac Bruce. And you see here, it's statistical individual exploits, all pro, 1,000 yards, forecasting his induction into the Hall of Fame, Super Bowl, and then, teammates card, from the greatest show on turf. And so the themes of these cards is what I've had a lot of fun with to go along with the relic aspect of it. Back when these cards were game used jersey inserts, right? So, with that being said, I would say that goal has been reached, right? I found something. And the fact that I have a handful of cards to go along with it is just kind of like a bonus thing, right? Or they kind of go hand in hand, whatever. Now, with that being said, I have kind of gone off script, picked up some cards along the way. I think that's natural, right? It's squirrel. That we're gonna pick up cards that maybe we didn't think of at that time, and so I'll show some of those. You got Stan Musial. I did that the Lost Years video here recently, and this is a card for it. I picked up some Last Playing Days cards, so here's a representative of that, the 2023 Adam Wainwright. About some pre-war, some R311, Gas House Gang, National Chickle. This is from 1936 when it was produced, but this is for the 1934 World Series team. And I lucked into that because it was at my LCS for a great price. And I found this on the internet to go along with it for that year, this is the 1934 World Series Tigers team. And I thought that they just went amazing together. And the Tigers one was really cheap too. You know, kind of mind-blowing. You can pick up cards that old, that awesome for what I paid for them anyway. Yeah, I picked up some hockey cards, some Patrick Maroon cards. You know, this collection it's going to be small, yeah, but I talked about it in one of my earliest videos, a player collection, and that is a Patrick Maroon, the hometown hero. And I got some Mac Pros coming in that these will go into. Hopefully those Mac Pros come in, I don't know, tomorrow. But then I also picked up these top stickers. This is of the Stanley Cup. And this is of the blue Stanley Cup winning team. Yeah, and it wasn't on my goals video or anything like that, but when I learned of them, I had to pick them up. They were very cheap. Whole lot of fun to put together, you know what I mean? So that was awesome. And then in looking for Ozzie Smith cards, I ran into this Fred Birch Schnucks milk carton. Now, I eventually did get the Ozzie Smith panel that I was wanting, you know, but this was a happy accident, which has kind of led to like a little small Fred Bird collection, so to speak. But now, at the same time, what has occurred is I set some new goals. And I think that's natural. You know, as the year goes on, you don't want to necessarily pigeonfoot yourself into what you said months and months ago, unless you have a very specific, defined, and expensive goal. You know, so I said I wanted to. So I decided that I want to collect Ted Simmons. This was in the most recent pickups video with Adam, but it started off with these 1976 MSA discs. And even after I said, oh, that's what I want to do, then even that checklist expanded, you know, different food issues. So I've set new goals midway through the year. And I think that's just normal for all of us, you know what I mean? And then another thing that I'm doing is, said in this when I did my binder video, is getting, you know, first Topps cards, rookie cards of those in the Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum, thanks to Jeff over at A Fine Card Collector. And yes, I ended up putting that 62 Brock in there, for now at least. So I'm going after those cards. Again, another goal that I did not set for myself at the beginning of the year that I'm now pursuing. So, that's kind of like a recap of where, how the year has gone so far. Again, I'm very fortunate and lucky that I have gotten to where I've gotten. And now, again, it's kind of the third time I've said it, whatever, is the last 2 months have been lighter. And I think, again, that's for a couple of reasons. One, I pushed so hard for this collection, and I achieved it. And I think it's natural for there to be kind of like a lull after you do something that you've worked so hard and wanted so much. Another thing is, my Ozzie Smith collection is the fact that I got as many as I did. It's just like, damn, you know what I mean? But then at the same time, by not being specific with my goals, and at the same time, it's some of these collections, it's just like I've been collecting, but what am I collecting off of? And there's something to be said about the power of a checklist. It helps keep you focused. It helps keep those goals and all that stuff in line. And I think it was Chris from Missouri, he's talked about his book that he operates off of quite regularly. And so in watching his videos, that kind of helped motivate. I need to create checklists, and so what I did was I bought this little thing off the Amazon really cheap, but it's got a little format like a to-do format, right? And so what I've done is I've created checklists. So, first Topps cards, like the last thing I showed from that binder that I'm operating off of. The Ted Simmons collection. Like I said, it has expanded quite rapidly as far as wants go from those discs to other food issues. So you see Kellogg's, Wiffle Ball. I mentioned this on my video with Adam. You got Hostess and other food issues, and some other cards I think are just too cool. With Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, I collect League Leader cards, World Series cards, and things of the sort, but those have been stagnant collections because it's just like, yeah, I know of the cards that I'm missing, but at the same time, I'm not putting them on a list. They're not active, if that makes sense. So I got a Bob Gibson checklist. I've got a Lou Brock checklist. Red Shandies. I got onto Trading Card Database and looked at like, that's a cool card, that's a cool card, that's a cool card. So I have my Red Shandies checklist. Now Ken Boyer, this gets crazy, right? Because I'm kind of super collecting Ken Boyer. It just doesn't look like a super collection now. So anyway, there's coins. These are things that I don't do for Ozzy, but with Ken I want to do. Food issues. Other Topps issues, like the stamps. And just other cards of his I think are cool after perusing Trading Card Database. So Ken Boyer has like 4 checklists. Going back to that goal of the Blues Hall of Fame nominees, again, I got around to finally putting those cards on a checklist. That's what I'm doing. And at the same time, I kind of rethought the Blues Hall of Fame collection. And so of the players I already have, I've identified different cards I want to get to represent them in that collection. So it's kind of modified my goal for that, the Hall of Fame. So it was the nominees. It's who's going to be nominated and selected for the next class. And now I'm kind of going back and I'm going to switch out some cards that I think are better for the long term of that collection. So again, it was, going back to my point about, the lighter months and everything. And the 2 things that I point to are, after achieving the Yadier Molina Gold collection, it was just a natural lull. And then at the same time, what cards am I going after? Now that I have sat down, put pen to paper of the cards that I want, I think this is going to springboard me towards the second half of this year. Recalibrating my goals. Now, not necessarily that I'm setting new goals or anything like that, because I'm not going to sit here and say I want to get X amount of cards from that list, X amount of cards from this list, or anything like that. But I do feel it's going to help me be more productive as far as my collecting goes the second half of the year. So anyway, this is how I'm nerding out, and thanks for nerding out with me.